Hi Scott, thanks for booking reading. First things first, I apologise for the delay in you getting this. It's somewhat backed up with life stuff, kind of fighting for dominance over stuff that I had planned, and you know how it goes, right? So this is late, and I'm sorry about that. But I have your booking information here, and I also have absolutely beautiful. I just crashed in the hallway there. Set of pictures that you sent me here on this email. They're absolutely extraordinary. That one with the bee is stunning, and I can see why the bee was important to you. It's exactly the kind of bee it was. Just up here. And I absolutely love the way that you refer to God and the universe. These little winks from home. And when I read that, I had a little flutter in here. It was just like, it's a really beautiful way to refer to it. Such a little flutter of homesickness, actually, in a weird sort of way. I guess that would be the best way to describe it. You're so very excited to connect through all these beautiful moments that were collected during some very dark and confusing times. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you very well. So, okay, thank you for sharing that story with me. Because I just do mention these things. I kind of throw them in when they happen in the hope that it is important to someone. Well, I feel like it usually is important, and that's why I mention it. But to get that kind of validation is awesome. So thank you. Right, here we are. Scot in Minneapolis. Scorpio Sun, Aquarius Moon, Pisces Ascendant. 45-year-old father of 12 and 14-year-old sons, just finishing divorce from their mum. I would say I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm actually feeling a sense of relief. Not that it's all over, but that it's done. It's settled. So I shan't commiserate that to you. A world of synchronicity and manifestation has opened up in a way I now always knew was possible, but everyone told me it was either of the devil or was crazy. Devout Mormon household. This is... we don't really have Mormons. I mean, we do, actually. We do. That's not entirely true. There was a Mormon church in Bladen, back where I used to live. But you don't really see them. They don't really make themselves known. I did get once stopped by a very handsome, well-dressed young man who was trying to sign people up for the Mormon church in the town that I grew up in, and I think he must have taken me on as a bit of a challenge because I was gothing about, as you do in my... No, I think I'd have been about 14 or 15, so big boots, big hair, absolute resting bitch face expression permanently. A lot of anger. I think he must have looked at me and thought, oh, there's one that cut my teeth on. Obviously, didn't get very far. But anyway, you have a podcast or something brewing, not sure yet, feels like a gathering. I like that. Don't know one person in the 3D that can see and don't do much online yet. That will change. Kind of have watched the show from the shadows and made my own path, as ever you should. You've been in corporate IT. Oh. Now that I will commiserate on you. Internet technology, multi-dimensional reporting, I thought was hysterical. That is really funny. For the last 12 years, but you have a spiritual gift of some kind that it mirrors. I can only call it seeing connections or synchronicity, but I don't know how to tap into it for real. Feel like I'm missing a mentor, maybe, but when the student is ready, the teacher appears. That certainly has been true in my case, and I have no reason to doubt it as a thing for other people as well, It's like you're either the only one awake around you or that everyone else is, but they won't admit it. It's kind of a little of each and also none as well. There's this stratification occurring. I don't know if you've witnessed it. I feel like you probably must have done because you seem like a pretty fucking switched on dude, and certainly the spiritual aspect of it, at least. Whereby we have those people who are awake and they are seeing, our 3D reality for kind of the cardboard pantomime that it actually is. Then you have the people who suspect that things aren't quite the way that they appear, and then you have the people who, no matter what, right, they will go to their grave not admitting that there is anything that they can't see, smell, hear, taste, or touch, right? They're not interested in anything outside of their material experience. And the more that you try and talk to them about it, the deeper they dig their heels in. They are entrenched in materiality. And I don't mean like stuff and things, although often stuff and things are a part of it. These are the people who are stuck. Truly stuck, right? They will not, it's ego, a lot of it, right? They will not allow themselves to explore, the limits of their own mindset, the limits of their own conditioning, because the ego's pinned too tightly to it, and then, everything would come cascading down as far as they're concerned, and that is, I think it's really sad, actually, but about 30% of the population. It's like that old Mark Twain quote, it's easier to fool someone than convince them that they've been fooled, and it's absolutely true. Last couple of years have shown us that in stark detail. But the same is true for, I think, spirituality and anything of even vaguely occult nature. You could literally conjure a demon in front of some people and they'd be like, hologram, it's a drone, it's a weather balloon. You know how it goes, right? So, it's the others that I find interesting, because I feel like there's a route in to most people where you can present them with something that they actually can't explain. And then they come to a point where they accept that they are wrong, like their preconceptions of things are wrong. They're open, they're actually open to changing their mind. I find those people quite interesting. Anyway, where are we here? Anywho, I guess I'm looking to see what may come through. We will absolutely look at that. In general, or with stepping into my new job. Or on what meeting people that may understand and actually live in this world manifests as. Yeah, that's really interesting for me. I'm coming out of a hermit phase that I've been in for, well, like everyone, I've been in there at least 2 years, right? And I think like a lot of people, when everything started to lift, I don't know what the COVID shit's been like in Minneapolis, but we were locked down pretty hard in the UK, but a lot of people in the UK are just fuck the government. They actually were quite anti-establishment. There's a core of anti-establishment kind of fuck you to, that sort of thing. And so people were just sort of doing it. They were just doing their own thing and fuck what anybody else said about it. But when things started to open up, I don't know, I just kind of stayed where I was because I was like, God, people are fucking awful. Some people are fucking awful, at least, and I just can't be arsed with exposing myself to that. And I've been kind of getting a big kick up the arse, or how was it you put it? Nudges from home. That it's time to start emerging from the cave and start going and socializing again. The thing is, it's not with the people that I knew prior to this last 2 years. And I think there was somewhat of a withdrawal that was happening before that for a good year or so. It's time to sort of get out there into the world and meet new people. And new people have been meeting me. It's almost like they've been just kind of shoved into my life, and I'm like, oh, hello, who are you? Where have you come from? I feel like it might be the same thing for you. But so that was to get to the point there. I was surrounded by people 3 years ago who I thought that I would know for at least another decade, if not longer. They're people that I had spent the last 8 years around. And I had no reason to believe that I wouldn't spend at least the next 8, 10, 12, 15 years knowing, all gone. All of them. Every single last one of them just peeled off. And they're still talking to each other, but I'm not a part of that anymore. And, it made me sad at some points. But then I was like, God, could you really cope with that anymore? And I know I couldn't cope with it. There's a different kind of vocabulary that is used. With people that are awake, right? There are different kind of concepts that are discussed. It's a different kind of communication. And you can say things that will sound utterly batshit to some people, and these new people, they just get it, right? So I've got one friend, now, one of the new people who I talk to a lot about, we talk about chaos magic a lot because that's something that we're both interested in. Well, he's actually a practitioner. I'm kind of like a pseudo-practitioner. And we talk about all sorts of things, but, we'll talk about everything from, how to get over mental blocks to how to conjure demons, like that, literally, and everything in between. Hypnosis of the masses and all that sort of thing, right? Like, we talk about all sorts of things, which is very, very cool. And so some of the stuff that comes out in our conversations would sound utterly crazy to a lot of people. My top is soaking wet and I don't know why. And then I have a new person. I actually just got myself a mentor. That whole, when the student is ready, the mentor appears, teacher appears. And he's quite cool. He's a Scorpio as well. And some of the stuff that we've been talking about recently, like I couldn't have those conversations with normal people. The point that I'm getting to is that you don't want to talk about anything else. Like, you want to talk about these big things, these spiritual awakenings, like the new levels of life that are open to you. And like, why would you try and talk to normal people about them? You can't. You literally can't. Because they just look at you like you're a batshit. And so sort of being in a spirit of allowing, whoever's coming towards you at this frequency that you are now vibrating at, like, these people will be people that you can talk to. I've got shit to do and I'm fucking ready. I've been feeling that a lot myself recently. Actually, in the last week. It's really landed in the last week. Well, I mean, I'm willing. Yeah, I know. So that is an absolutely acceptable way to put that. He's speaking a language I understand there. So, using words that pepper my own vocabulary. What was it? It was this deck here that wanted to come out, and I found this really interesting. So I don't use this deck very often. It's very pretty. It's got a shiny silver edging on it and stuff. It's the Tarot of Shadow and Light. It makes a whole picture if you put all the cards out in sequence on the floor. But I thought it was interesting because it's, shadow and light, and I feel like those are the two. I think those are the two areas that Scorpios will be inhabiting. The polarity. I mention this because obviously we would hope that everybody lives there, but it's like Scorpio know the shadows, they know the darkness. Like they're intimately acquainted with all of these, with all of the shadow dark stuff. But part of what it has seemed like Scorpio's path is now is to accept that there is also light within them, and that's something that Scorpios struggle with a little bit, and for lots and lots of reasons. I mean, for some it's because, well, they define themselves by their darkness, and to embrace light would be to somehow lose a part of their identity. But I don't think that that's true. I don't think that's true, at least. Still really confused as to why my hoodie is soaking wet, but anywho, nevertheless, I'm going to stop wittering at you now and I'm going to start pulling some cards. Yeah, Don't use this deck very often. So we're going to start off with just establishing a baseline, like working out where you are right now, because sometimes there's something really obvious that kind of jumps out at you from that, and I would like to see if that's there. Some other times there isn't, and it is just exactly as it is. You know, that there isn't anything else that hasn't occurred to you that isn't just kind of sitting around and waiting for you to notice it. But, you know, even if that's the case, then we've established a baseline and that's all good. So really, out of that entire deck, we've got one card, and it's the Page of Pentacles. All right, well, if that's what is wanted, we've got the Tower at the bottom of the deck. Now, from what you've said, it seems to me like the Tower card has kind of operated quite in a number of different ways in your life already. You know, separation from your wife, you know, the breakup, but then also the divorce. And I don't know, you've not mentioned, you know, what the situation is with your kids, but I mean, hopefully there's some sort of kind of joint thing going on there. But it feels to me like there is a further tower that is kind of happening too. Now, people get really upset when I talk about the tower, like Taurians particularly. They get terrified when they see it. I mean, it makes sense, right? But because you're a Scorpio, I'm a little less concerned about that, because it's more the energy of disruption, which is something that I think that Scorpios do naturally anyway. You know, you are just natural disruptors. More so because it's followed by the Justice card. Now, the Justice card for me is one of those indicators that, you know, something is afoot, Watson. We got, you know, notions of karma, yes, and you know, karma is neutral and all that sort of thing. It's not about punishment, it's merely the consequences of our actions. But there's also a sense of, you know, aligning with the destiny that I see with the Justice card. All right, I'm really coming into that sense of purpose, even if, like you, we don't know quite what that purpose is. You know, this Page of Pentacles here is painting a picture. And it's interesting that you're an artist, you know, and you've got all that sort of thing going on there. And here, let's have a look. So you did say that this was something that you were, you've recently committed to calling yourself an artist. First show on the 20th, right? So you've just recently committed to it, and you've got a show on the 20th. So that you can share the photos that you've gathered over the past several years while working through your process. So you've been an artist the whole time, but you finally accepted it. Well, that's a big move in and of itself. And so here we have this Page of Pentacles, who is, you know, being an artist. He's creating a picture. There's a vision of the world that he wishes to share with others, and I feel like that's very much what you're doing here. I love the fact that the Tower is underneath the deck, right? This is the shadow card at the bottom of the deck, and you're looking at these two photos you got here, and we're talking about disruption, and we're seeing something beautiful, you know, in something that is shattered and broken. And I think that's absolutely fucking stunning. There's a Japanese word, I always forget what it is. I'd have to Google it and look it up, but it's the art of fixing old pottery and stuff with gold. The idea being that something can be even more beautiful when it's fixed after being broken than it was when it was originally created, because you've got all of the lines where the cracks are and everything. Instead of bits of glue hanging out of it, you've got this gold seam kind of running through it. I just love that as an idea. And it's how I see people, actually. It is how I see people. And this disruption here, it's communicating through art. There were two cards that came out to the side, and I resolved not to take them because I like cards that were jumping, and I was quite interested in the fact that there was nothing coming out apart from that one card. But take a look at that there. We've got the Five of Cups and we've got the High Priestess. We've got that Scorpio card and also the Pisces card too. Right, the High Priestess is one that I see a lot for artists. It actually usually comes up with the Devil, interestingly enough, because it is channeling down something, right? Whether it's an idea or whatever, and expressing it. For you, I feel it's like kind of channeling it out rather than down and just kind of being here. You know, it's taking your experience. And the Scorpio experience is very well categorized, I think, by the Five of Cups. And it's releasing it into the world so that other people can see the world the way that you do, you know. Something highly disruptive about that. But let's put those cards down. I'm gonna just pull some clarifiers and see what this point is. Because what this is saying, the page is saying, and I like the fact that it's a page, because the aces are pure potential, right? But they show up when there is something, you know, absolutely new going on, right? This is outside of the realm of your experience. You don't know anything about this, and then suddenly there's a new thing. The pages for me are when you take something that you do already know, and you know, you build on the back of it. It's sometimes considered to be like the student card, right? Page of Pentacles, Page of Swords, and student qualities to them, right? But the Page of Pentacles in particular speaks to me about newly understanding the value of something, and it feels to me like you've come into that sense of newly appreciating the value of all sorts of things, not least yourself at this point. You know, let's have a look at the clarifiers. Tell me about this Page of Pentacles. Thank you. Got the Sun card. It's a card of Leo. Nice. Communication here. Knight of Swords, right? How we communicate, how we express between ourselves and another. You know, sometimes it can be thoughts and whatnot, but it's about, usually for me, the external expression, particularly when it comes to that. We've got the Hermit behind it, interestingly. How you take what is inside and make it outside. You know, how you find the beauty in the pain there. How you find the beauty in the vulnerability. Because this is, the Sun card is often talking about that kind of, the vulnerability of being naked and sitting on the back of a horse, you know. It's been like absolutely butt naked. The vulnerability through pain, like it's a big thing to be prepared to share something that runs that deeply within you with other people. Page of Pentacles again, trying to make itself known. Four of Cups. Yeah. Four of Cups and the Page of Cups. I mean, we've got the same sort of energy going on there, right? I feel like there's a lot about transforming people's appreciation of their own emotions, and reaching out to them in a way that they can understand. You know, you're not coming at this, you're looking to recruit people. You're looking to express something and find the right way to express it to people in a way that they can understand, right? Something that is true to you, but is also, by extension, also that somebody else can find their truth in. Let's put it that way, because we've got that Four of Cups there. You know, we're talking about resistance and rejection often, you know. And then we've got the Page of Cups, right? Don't just ignore the fucking cup. Pick the cup up, do something with it. Right there, there is the ability to be able to get through to and touch something else, touch someone else. And we've got the Lover's card and the Knight of Pentacles under here. And I think you did this for the longest time without ever really knowing what it was that you were going to do with these pictures. It was just, they had to be catalogued, right? They had to be they had to be created in the first instance, right? But they had to be collated and gathered. There's that word again, gathered. And before you knew what it was that you were going to do with them. Right. This feels like very high spiritual work you're doing here. Now, I feel like your creativity and your artistry are absolutely bound up, and it's a word that I'm looking for here. They're an essential component, right, of what your spiritual gift is. And when I was doing the meditation before I started, I always do a brief meditation before I start, just kind of reaching out in the ether and grabbing hold of the person. Just give me your energy for a second while I've been seeing that. I felt that I needed to mention, I was sort of compelled to mention that on this point here, you don't know how to tap into it for real. You feel like you're missing a mentor, maybe. That sometimes, say for example, Tauruses are really bad for this, right? We want so hard to make sense of what doesn't make sense to us, right? A way of kind of getting hold of what is innate within us, that we kind of barrel from pillar to post, like looking for people who can tell us what our gift is and tell us how to use it, give us in some way a roadmap. Right? This is why Tauruses are particularly bad for it. Because they like to have everything laid out in front of them, and it stresses them out when they don't know where they're going. And I've done, to be fair, I've done exactly the same thing myself over the years. I've been desperate for somebody to just lay out the fucking facts of what I am and why I am the way that I am, and what I can do and how I can do it better. And I've always come up short. Not always, actually, but maybe 75% of the time, because most of what I've come to understand as my gift, if you will, I've had to discover for myself, and I've had to learn how to use myself, because it's been an authentic expression of who I am. Right? And the reason that I'm mentioning this is because you're a Scorpio, and I'm feeling that strong sense of authenticity needing to come directly from you, rather than being channeled or guided or, you know, whatever, by somebody else. Like, it has to be authentic and it has to come from you. Now, there are plenty of occasions where I've gone, oh, I'm going to take a course, I'm going to do this thing, this will help me understand myself a little bit. And I paid for a, I don't know, 5-6 part course on consciousness from the Psychedelic Society. And I did the first session. I didn't need to do any more, because I knew what I needed to know from that. You know, the whole thing was like 45 seconds out of the whole fucking hour that was necessary for me to understand, because then after that, it was about processing everything that I just understood about myself. And that's where my journey ended with that course. Done spiritual development courses with mediums in the city and whatnot, and I only stuck around because I liked them, you know. I learnt a few bits and pieces, but the thing that I needed to learn was not something that could be taught. What I needed to learn was how to have confidence in what it was that I could do, even if I didn't know what it was that I did or how I made it work. And then have the confidence to start practicing that, right? To make that part of my path moving forwards. Because, you know, I've been shown how to do I was going to say necromancy, and that's absolutely not what it is. I've never been shown how to do necromancy. The name of it has eluded me. It's definitely not necromancy. You know, I've been shown how to do a variety of different modalities, and some of them stuck and some of them didn't. Some of them were not interesting to me at all. Some of them I wasn't very good at. You know, like, I know what I can do. I know what I'm good at. And I just followed my interest, right? It's not this thing, it's not this thing. Oh, this is quite interesting. Not this thing, not this thing. Having the opportunity to practice in a non-judgmental space was what I needed, rather than the direction of a mentor, if that makes sense. Now, I have just recently got myself a mentor, like I said at the beginning, like this Scorpio chap, and he's very cool, actually. I'm appreciating how good a teacher he is, because he doesn't tell me anything. He just guides me and lets me find the answers for myself, and that's exactly what I need to do, because it's not putting any of his stuff over the top of it, right? So for me, it's very much about inner exploration. It's always about inner exploration, right? But it is like I'm digging deep on myself to have experiences, and like he's the one who's telling me to note particular things down, pay attention to whatever this thing is here. You know, how is this expressing? But I've been on YouTube for, well, like fucking coming up 3 years now. And now I feel ready to do that particular aspect of journeying, learning, you know, that sort of thing. But again, it's not being taught. It's not being shown the ways. It's being kind of... The words aren't coming out very well today. Keep forgetting what the word is that I'm looking for. It's almost like being observed in a non-judgmental way, as I am given practices and exercises to do. You know? And I think you just need an opportunity to exercise your gift, because it's like a muscle. You know, the more you use it, the more you're able to use it, the stronger the muscle gets, and you know, and then you start to flex and you get powerful, and you know, you can crack eggs with your biceps. Spiritual eggs, spiritual biceps, you know. You don't need a teacher yet. You just need to use your thing. So for you, something like joining a spiritual development group might be a good thing. You can try all of these things and go, well, it's none of that, but this thing here, I really like this thing, and I can do this, you know, I can do this more. It's about rediscovering your skills rather than developing them, because you know which ones work for you. You know, you just feel that instant affinity to it. Right? That's the thing. Anyway. Yeah. I think you've really been through the mill. It's about more than just chaos on the outside. Oh, yeah. I like this very much. This is really strong. Wow. I shall tell you what I've got in a second, but like I'm just actually being nosy and kind of scouting ahead here. What the fuck? Alright. So, I hope that you're ready. I know that you're willing. I hope you're ready. Well, do you know what? It's not like that. It's... We're always ready for whatever is coming ahead to us, even if we don't feel like we're ready. It's just there and it's coming, right? And so we adapt or we die. Sometimes we just die anyway, and then we are reborn. You know, it can happen in several times in one lifetime. There is very little that I feel that I was ever ready for, that I've kind of run into. But this top row of cards is showing me exactly where you have been, right? So we have the Knight of Cups, but it's in the reverse. It's a Pisces card. There. We've got the Seven of Cups, and I like that one. I wonder if at any point you've had a bit of a drinking problem, possibly. But there's certainly that, you know, that element of confusion, you know, just drowning in emotions and not really knowing where they're going. We've got the Eight of Wands there, and we've got the Two of Swords. Now the Eight of Wands is usually for me a very good card, but it feels like you've been burned. You've been burned over and over again. Now, that's kind of classic Scorpio stuff, right? Find me a Scorpio that isn't in some ways, you know, hasn't suffered dramatically, and I shall tell you that they're probably not really a Scorpio. That flitting, almost unwillingly between numbness and feeling too much, and then numbness and feeling too much, and then kind of finding it very, very difficult to find that intervening period, the middle line between the two, you know. The Knight of Cups is about emotions shutting right down on things, and I feel like at points you have absolutely been there, but you know, we go from the Knight of Cups to the Seven of Cups, where, you know, shut it down, to drowning in it, to shutting it down and having to shut it down because you're drowning in it. And Eight of Wands feels searing, you know, it feels like it's searing my skin as I'm looking at it. It feels like a deeply uncomfortable energy. And then we arrive at the Two of Swords, and the Two of Swords is, it's sometimes the refusal to look at what we know is there. It's quite a cool Two of Swords, actually. Check that out. No. It's my card of willful refusal, willful ignorance. Because in order to studiously avoid something, that you have to know where it is, and you have to absolutely not even, you know, slightly glance at it. Like, that takes a lot of energy. That builds up walls there. I'm like, I'm not going to let this thing out. But in this particular deck, she's turned around and she is facing the moon, and she is facing the water. And rather than, you know, holding these cards up in front of her chest like this, covering her heart and seemingly needing to make a decision, we've got a character who's pulling an entirely different stance. She's facing the moon, she's facing the water, and she's got the swords behind her back like this, and it's almost like come on then, I'm ready. For you, there is going to be a lot of journeying inward here. I see that for sure. But your journey inward helps people outwardly, right? And often that is the nature of the spiritual gifts, right? I'm not talking about the mediums who go, and see your grandfather standing next to you and tapping you on the head and all that kind of thing. I'm not talking about those spiritual gifts. I'm talking about the dark gifts that we have, the ability to be able to see the pain, right? But be able to somehow look through that and find the beauty that sits behind it. You know, that's what I'm talking about, embracing the light for you. Like, yes, there's the pain. We see the pain. There's no issue at all in observing the pain. Now, how do you make it to mean something, right? That needs pushing through. Not everybody can do it. And when it comes to this kind of thing, I don't think you can find the meaning without having been in the darkness, right? You can't find the light without having really been through the darkness first. Now, this woman still has a blindfold on her eyes, but I don't actually feel like that's an issue here in this case, because this isn't you obscuring your vision. It's about taking away the distractions of vision to feel your way through. I mean, she's fucking tooled up, right? She's ready to go. She's got these swords on her back, you know? But she's facing the moon and she's facing the water. Now, the inward journey for you will help other people, because as you begin to perceive the light, and I feel like you're there already, I think you've probably been there for a long time, right? But there's a sense here of you stepping into a purpose for it. We're not just looking for meaning now, we're looking for the ways in which collectively you can help other people. That is through you. Now, I don't think we need to linger on those cards too long, because everything that we've got coming out thereafter is pretty interesting. I would feel for you probably really quite affirming for where you are at. But this second line, we have the World card. We have the Knight of Wands, Sagittarius energy there, and then we have Death, and we have the Page of Cups next to each other here. And Death card is you. Obviously it is a Scorpio card, but it is also a card that speaks of great transformation, right? The transformation is yours, but just as, you know, if you throw a brick into a pond, you know, there's big ripples that come out. What you fix in yourself, you are fixing in the collective, but you're also fixing it around you too. Now, you know, I don't know if your boys are going to play a part in this somewhat, but what is learned by the father ultimately will always be passed on to the children, you know, as it is with the mother too. And so there is the possibility of breaking some sort of generational issue that is coming through for you. Also learning through your children, from your children, you know, learning at the hands of your children, learning to see the world through different eyes, but passing on also at the same time how you see the world. Now, speaking of the world, that is the first card, and it does indicate the end of a major cycle, and I feel like this is a lot to do with, you know, why you are so willing and so ready now. It's like the end of a cycle, which, you know, the end of a marriage is always the end of a cycle, right? But then it drags out for such a long time afterwards, whilst you're finalising all of the, you know, the paperwork and the financial stuff. But there's a bigger ending that's occurred here. Like, there's been... No, it's coming. There is a rebirth coming. You have not yet been reborn. I've just been corrected on that one. And you should prepare yourself for stuff to get pretty fucking intense. I think that you're good with that anyway. I mean, there's an intensity in your words, as sparse as they are, that I could read through the paper. And you only have to look at your pictures to see that intensity too. Let me out this World card. Thank you. So we have the Fool, and we have the Two of Pentacles coming out here to clarify the world. Now this is wonderful, because it does speak to there being not only, there's a Page of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck, not only being that very clearly delineated ending, but also the beginning of a new path for you. One where you may not always know, well, certainly for the foreseeable, you're not necessarily going to know short term what the plan is for you. More it's about adjusting, because a lot of this is being asked to be done on trust with you, and that's huge for you. Anyway, I get the impression from your words that you are quite trusting of your path. But a lot of things are going to have to be done on faith for you moving forwards, and that's not always easy, and it's particularly not easy for Scorpios, and there will be points where that is challenging for you. You know, you're kind of stepping away from previous version of you, which has all sorts of knock-on effects to your identity and things like that. But I think that the bits of your identity that you're sloughing are the bits that never really were you anyway. I mean, I think a lot of people have just kind of imputed stuff into you, and they've not really needed you to confirm it or deny it either way. You know, they've just kind of made assumptions about you. And sometimes that the weight of that has been a little bit much. But this Two of Pentacles here, it's speaking to the journey within. Like, there's a lot of readjusting that is going to happen for you over the next few months. Yeah, and some of that is going to revolve around blockages for you, right? This next few months is about navigating those blockages, identifying them, seeing that they're there, and working through them, because we've got the Eight of Cups at the bottom of the deck here, right? We're leaving behind that which no longer serves us, is the received wisdom of that card, right? But it's always emotional in nature with the Eight of Cups, right? There's nothing in those 8 cups for you anymore. And notice, you can see it there, that this chap here is going off under the light of an eclipse, and we do have a really spectacular eclipse occurring in Scorpio next week, which I think is going to affect you deeply. It's going to affect everyone, but it's going to particularly affect you. But it is about releasing where you've come from. A lot of that is going to be releasing the narratives of where you have come from, because this kind of journey of self-exploration isn't just about finding more details. It's about bringing fresh perspectives to what you already know, right? Deepening your knowledge always, deepening your sense of self, deepening the insights into what makes you you, because this is a constant process, right? It doesn't just, you know, you don't just have a spiritual awakening one day and you go, well, shit, now I'm enlightened. Now that's not how it works, and I'm sure you're aware. You know, the work is never done. And so you will find yourself always cycling back to old situations, your life experiences, to see if there is more that can be mined from that for you. And being prepared to do that, and sometimes, you know, what you're finding being things that unsettle you slightly, I think is important. But we've got... Oh yeah, I was going to pull something. I was going to pull another card for that. That's why I picked up the deck. Let's get this triple goddess here. Tell me about this Two of Pentacles. Okay, now. I've got the Ten of Pentacles. And whatever that was, the Moon. Right, so the Ten of Pentacles is lots of things. It's, you know, financial security. It's you know, it's the happy family card. It's a card of inheritance, that sort of thing. But it's a card of investment, and so the investment into you is one of the things that is indicated here, right? Remember that the page that you had was the Page of Pentacles. It's all about the way that you invest in yourself moving forwards. But in order to do that, you know, a lot of that is about looking at you. Like we see here in that Moon card, right? Looking at you and looking at all the bits of you, including the bits that you do not enjoy looking at. Because if you were to take a Two of Pentacles and amplify it up to a Ten of Pentacles, which for me more in this case is talking about security and stability, internal security and internal stability, that which you can carry around with you, rather than necessarily the stability and security of having, you know, 2.4 kids and you know, a house and a mortgage and a wife and a job and all those sorts of things, you know, a self-belief that comes from the absolute acceptance as yourself as a spirit living a human existence, you know, not questioning any of these little nudges or synchronicities or things that come to you, or even your understanding of the world around you, right? Your understanding of the world around you is absolutely spot on. It's very, very good. But now we seek to deepen it, and we seek to deepen by going within. We seek to deepen by looking at what you don't want to look at. And we find, you know, within that process of changing the narrative, like that's coming through really strong. I keep hearing that over and over again. Changing the narrative of the past to see what gifts actually have been given to you. And I'm not just talking about things like being grateful that you met your wife because you had some good times at some point, although it's sad that you're broken up now, you know, or divorced or whatever, that you know, you can find things to be grateful for. It's like, well, what did she do that triggered the shit out of you? What did she do that made you feel bad? What did she do that made you feel sometimes maybe aggressive, something like that? What did she do that made you feel sad? Because those are gifts too. They're all pointing you to a knowledge within yourself that you are being asked to pull up, right? Pull up from underneath you, from the ground, and really, really examine them. Really, really examine. I noticed that we've got the devil card at the bottom of the deck here. You know, whatever situation that the devil indicates to you, and it is toxicity and codependence, it is that feeling of being stuck, right? That is showing you where all of the where all the opportunities for growth are. You know, there's a quote by I can't remember, but it's probably by Jung, right? And it's you know, all the tools you need to grow are in the places you don't want to look. Well, you're going to be looking there, and I feel like you will be looking there anyway, and I think that you're willing to go there. With Scorpios are willing to go there. But the next card that you've got is the Knight of Wands. Right? A Sagittarian energy, like I said, and it's about the here and now. So the message then becomes, you know, mining the past for what it can change in the here and now. There's something of a collapsing old timelines, or collapsing new timelines, right? We're going to get rid of the ones that we don't want by changing the narrative of the past and what has happened. Because if you change the past and your understanding of the past, it changes who you are now. And who you are now dictates, you know, which path you're going to take from here on out. And some of those timelines are going to collapse because they're no good to you. You know, when you've got too much self-awareness, when you've got too much of a level of insight into yourself, you're not going to blunder down this road. You're not going to find yourself headed, you know, straight for the devil, ignoring all the red flags. Well, you might, but it's less likely than if you continue with an old narrative from the past. Because the Knight of Wands is all about the here and now. Right? There's a, you know, the negative way of looking at it is very uncommitted, a little bit addicted to hedonism and things like that. But there's no card that is all negative or all positive in the tarot. Like, they have elements of both. There is a subtlety to the tarot, which is, well, it's missed sometimes, I think. That's just me, not judging anyone. But it's clarified by the Hanged Man and the Hierophant. And, you know, the Hierophant is the establishment. Right? It's the status quo. It is everything that you're kind of rallying against when you're talking about the people in the 3D who are just acting like they don't know anything, you know. It's society. It's potentially your work. You know, sometimes it's the institution of marriage. So if, you know, if your wife was one of those people who also refuses to be aware, then she would absolutely, the marriage that you had with her would definitely be part of this experience too. But the Hierophant is also the teacher, and I think the fact that you've got the Hanged Man and then the teacher is interesting, because it's like, if you're looking for a mentor, what you're doing immediately is saying, I don't have enough experience in this area, right? I need to go find somebody who knows more. But when it comes to your spiritual gifts and the way that you exercise them and the way that you understand yourself, there is no better teacher for you than you. Remember, we saw that hermit right at the beginning of the reading. I would say you have quite a way to go yet before you need a teacher, because it's all about really getting those insights in, you know. The Hanged Man, like I said, it's a change of perspective, but it is enlightenment, you know, and it's self-directed there with the Hanged Man. Like, he's the one who chose himself to hang himself upside down from the tree of knowledge. It's based on Odin. You know, he didn't go and ask. He didn't say, what exercises do I need to do here? And then have someone just hang himself upside down there for a little bit. It's 10 minutes, he'd be sound. You know, he went off and he did these things himself. Hang on. Fuck. Ooh. What do we have here? We've got the Five of Swords. We've got the World card in reverse, and we've got the Ace of Wands. Now, it seems like there are Five of Swords. I always say that it feels to me like cognitive loops, right? Where there is a certain mindset perpetuating, or a way in which old wonky thinking is kind of colouring our present, and I'm going to present and future, and actually probably perception of past, because this is all coming out underneath the Knight of Wands. You know, there's a little of that needs to be shifted before you are kind of in a place where you can really take off, because the world in reverse is a delay, right? So the delay is on the teacher, not because you don't deserve a teacher or anything like that, but because you are the only teacher that you need at this point, right? And there's a big message here about it being the way that you live, right? The way that you live, whatever that is. So the routines that you bring in, you know, the things that you do in the day-to-day, what you choose to experience. Being a huge part of it, because there's an attachment to something here that I'm feeling here in you, that is wanting to be released first, and I'm not quite sure what it is, and I'm no doubt that it will come out further on down here. Fucking put this cloth straight. I literally just almost fired all my fucking cards across the table, across the floor. You know, this self-knowledge, the self-everything. The Five of Swords is an instability in thinking, right? I remember how we were talking about with that Ten of Pentacles, was like bringing in that inner security and stability. What you want to be able to do is turn that Five Swords upside down, and then from there the world comes the right way up, and then the Ace of Wands, which is the card next to it, gets an opportunity to really do its thing. But again, it's experiential. So what about your life needs to change at this point? Because that's all got to be self-directed. That's very, very strong, that message. I mean, I've got an idea with some of the other cards that are coming up in a second, but, you know, what preconceptions are you holding, and can you release them? Like, everything within you, is it like, can I release this? And I don't think that there's any fear in releasing anything, because if it is you, it will be released and it'll just stay where it is, you know? Kind of reminded about this about the process that I undertook, and I only really saw that this is what I was doing in retrospect. I could see the pattern in retrospect of what I was doing, which is this kind of, once I had lost everything, which is kind of like 2017, 2018, I had a brain injury, and I ended up just sort of sitting and staring at a wall for pretty much 18 months. I don't really remember anything that I did there, but I would take my kids to school and I would drop them off, and I would come home and I would sit on the sofa and I would just stare at a wall, and I wouldn't do anything. I think it was my brain resetting. But part of that process, part of what was going on, because I was unable to do anything else, I couldn't read a book, I couldn't look at my phone, like even reading Facebook at that point was taxing my brain so much that it was giving me headaches. So I didn't even bother. I actually switched over to Instagram because looking at pictures was easier than looking at words. the corollary of that was that I had really nothing to do but kind of think. And I don't mean think in a conscious way. I mean, I was just kind of drifting, and I was finding all sorts of things were coming to the surface once I was being slow enough and still enough to let them out. And a lot of those were about who I was, because obviously with a brain injury that has a huge effect on knowing who you are, because you just don't know who you are anymore. All the old ways in which you used to define yourself don't really fucking count anymore, because they're not there, you know. I had a fucking photographic memory. Do I have? No, not anymore. And I found myself drifting over the past. And I found myself drifting over like things like, what actually is me now? Like, what is me? Because I feel like there's nothing left of me. And as I was kind of poring over all of these things that I thought were me, I started to realise what the pattern that I was picking up was, that a lot of these things were put here by other people, by expectations, by conditioning, whatever it is. You know, a lot was to do with my parents, a lot of it was to do with previous relationships. I was just kind of mulling it all over and sifting. That thing there is me. That thing over there is not me. You know, that psychedelic course that I was telling you about, the Psychedelic Society one, you know, we had to come up with a list of labels that we had for ourselves, so somebody could pick us out of a crowd, you know. And I had all sorts of things in there. And then we had a set of breakout sessions, and I was with the lecturer, and the idea was that we were supposed to pick one and then explore that with each other, you know, asking these questions. And I looked throughout this list and I thought, oh God, I don't want to open any of these cans of worms with, you know, someone when we've got 5 minutes to do this exercise. I'll pick a really kind of obscure, not obscure, but, you know, kind of not as emotionally engaging one as all of the others. And so I just picked extrovert. And he said, introvert. And he was like, okay, what's the thing with the introvert? And I was like, well, I'm an introvert, quite comfortable being an introvert. And he said, have you always been an introvert? And my mouth just dropped open, because like in about 2 seconds flat, I had just gone through my mental databases to look at who I was in the past. And I looked at him and I went, no, I haven't. And I was really confused, because suddenly my entire life looked different to how it had looked 10 seconds before. Like, I'd always worn my introversion as a warm, comfy blanket. It was where I could escape to recharge and things like that. And this huge, like tidal wave of resentment just washed over me, because I was never like that. I was created that way over time, eventually, by my parents kind of crushing the extroversion out of me, till the point where I just stopped talking. I didn't want to engage anymore. That was the reason why I didn't go back to that course, because then I had about a month of like unpacking all of that and what that meant. Like, how do I accept that? I'm not sure I can accept being an extrovert. Why? What is so bad about being an extrovert? What are all the preconceived notions that I'm holding about extroversion and what it actually means as you know, set against the value of a person? I melted my own head for a little bit, but I like to do that, so that was good. It was a valuable thing to do. And the reason that I'm telling you all of this is because that singular Five of Swords is saying the same thing to me here. I think there are a lot of aspects of you that you take for granted that aren't actually quite as static as you think that they are, and they are asking to be looked at, right? This is part of your journey here, is going within and changing the narrative, changing the idea of your own history, to better fit what is the reality now, with all the tools that you have at your disposal. Because I think that we can only ever do as much as, you know, we do the best that we can with what we know at the time. And not a lot of people take the time to stop and pick back over And quite a lot of it revolves around your daily habits, which is interesting. You want to pick up on your daily habits and look at why you do things the way that you do, what it is that you're trying to achieve, or what you're trying to stop yourself from achieving, because sometimes the Five of Swords is a card of self-sabotage. Yeah. Like my very wise chaos magician friend says, like observation is processing. At the point at which you see that thing, it begins to change almost in front of you, you know? What's this next card that we've got here? Ah, yes, Death and the Page of Cups. It's talking about the transformation of you. And not outer you, but inner you. The Page of Cups is it's a card that I often associate with Pisces, interestingly enough, and I do know that that is your ascendant, as you said so there. But it's about kind of starting again emotionally, allowing yourself to start again emotionally. And if you're doing all of this work to look at the narratives that you have told yourself and just question them and make sure that they are correct before you go any further, then what you are going to end up kind of feeling like you're coming back on yourself a little bit. You're having to start again. Right, so if what I felt about this situation that happened before, once I take into account all of the other things that I did not see at the time when I was absolutely stuck in the middle of it, we take those out of the way, what is left? Well, you know, it's possible that there may be some forgiveness or compassion that needs to be employed by you. Maybe it needs to be deployed towards other people, but more likely I feel like it needs to be turned inwards. You know, there's a lot to be said about the way that we punish ourselves for things that we have done in the past. And right, the sheer fucking unnecessariness of it. It is unnecessary. If you can take from it the lessons that you needed to learn and carry those forwards, then hoiking around this, well, it can appear in all sorts of ways, like guilt, resentment, misery, you know, the whole fucking gamut. Like I said, like, looking at things as gifts. Like, I think now, my brain injury, although I would like to not go through it again, and I'd actually really rather like my old brain back, if that's okay, I think, despite that, I do think it was the best thing that could have possibly happened to me under the circumstances, which is interesting now. Still not sure what I would do if I saw the man who punched me again. I think I'd probably knock him out. Would I? Don't think I would, actually. I'd want to, but I wouldn't. Well, and all of the other things I've experienced, like a very abusive childhood. I don't want to go through those things again, and I don't want anybody to go through those things again, but I've learned a lot from all of that, and it's the working through it afterwards as an adult where the learning and the growth and the forgiveness and the compassion has come in. Like, there's the huge expansion. It wasn't the first 37 years of my life where I was walking around like an absolute fucking train wreck, you know. It's about the healing that came afterwards and the wisdom that has come as a result of that. Now, the cards that you had underneath here are really quite interesting because we've got the Knight of Cups, this time appearing in the upright. But we've got the Four of Pentacles right in front of it. And then we've got the King of Pentacles and we've got the Magician. So there's a couple of different ways of looking at what this is talking about here. I mean, we've got a lot of characters on the board. We've got Pisces, we've got Taurus, we've got Gemini, Virgo, with those cards that are just clarifying there. And if any of those signs are important to you, then all's the good. If not, then what we're talking about is the energetic presentation of those. And you've got three really good cards. But you've got that Four of Pentacles that is kind of acting as a blockage here for you. Because the Four of Pentacles is that card of kind of clamping down on energy, and we know Scorpios are good at clamping down on stuff, right? The aim of the game is to release, is to open up, is to allow the free flow of energy, and that's what the Knight of Cups is doing. Like, he's offering his cup. It can be about the way that you give your emotion, give your intimacy to other people, but it can also be about the way that you allow it into you, and whether you allow it into you. You know, remember that the energy needs to flow. And I said right at the beginning, it did feel like what you were discovering about yourself inwardly is going to be shared with other people later on down the line, whether that is through, you know, the art that you're doing, or whether you end up setting up a business and doing this as a, you know, as a means of income. Because we've got this King of Pentacles here, and we've got this Magician. And the thing that I found really interesting is, like, from the second that I saw this Four of Pentacles, I thought, what I felt was that there was some sort of blockage around money here for you. Or if it's not money, it's some of the expressions of money, right? So being able to look after people in the way that you should, which is really interesting to me, because Scorpios are usually money magnets. So I don't really know where this is coming from. But, you know, money being energy, it's just an expression of it. Now, whether you like it too much or you don't like it enough, or you're afraid of it, you know, the end result is kind of the same, in so much as that Four of Pentacles kind of clamping down on it is going to be the thing that happens, and it's blocking the energy moving. The fact that we've got the King of Pentacles and the Magician here tells me that you have the capacity for great things in this area, right? We've got the King of Pentacles being the, you know, the absolute epitome of provision. And we've got the Magician, right? What you set your mind to, you can achieve, bound only by the limits of your own imagination. But, you know, the other thing that this could possibly be talking about is, you know, things like commitment and responsibility. I mean, maybe these are things that you have struggled with over time. And if there's ever been a point where you don't think that you were able to do these things, I mean, the fact that the King of Pentacles and the Magician is here would say to me very strongly that actually you can do these things. It's just that there's a block. And the block is between your heart, you know, the way that you offer the emotion, and then the expression of it. Because that's all money is. It's just an expression of energy. So my ex-husband, for example, right? He's earning an obscene amount of money, actually, eye-watering amount of money, but he doesn't know how to do emotional stuff at all. You know, it's one of the reasons why we're not married anymore. I was pretty uninterested in his children until it was too late. Tell me about this King of Pentacles. What's this King of Pentacles here? Oh, we've got the Four of Swords. King of Pentacles. Four of Swords with the Two of Pentacles and the Ace of Wands. Right, there is a piece that needs to be made here with something, right? And it is somewhere in the relative ballpark of money, material possessions, and or your ability to create them, how invested in them that you are, you know, because the Four of Swords is asking there to be a peace made with something here for you, right? The Two of Pentacles is about how we keep it straight in our own minds. I like this, because this little lass here in the Two of Pentacles has got, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. I'm going to move my face out of the way, maybe that'll sharpen the thing. She's actually holding up some eyeglasses to her, so she's kind of looking at the scene. It's again this nature of examination. But you've got peace that comes through examination, and then a reinvigoration of self that comes as a result. There's that Ace of Wands again. It's the second time in just a few cards that has come up for you. You know, the Magician says that you have everything that you need. I mean, maybe we're going back to this idea of a teacher again. Like, you don't need a teacher. You have everything that you need. You just need to explore your skills. You need to put them to use. Because I do think that all of this stuff lies, you know, sitting there latently within humans. But we just do not exercise it. And I think everything about modern life has is almost like deliberately placed to make sure that we are so distracted we don't ever start exploring that part of ourselves. You talk to anyone and they will be able to recount to you a time where they had a gut feeling about something and they just went with it, right? And it turned out to be absolutely spot on. What is that? Really, what is that? Gut feeling doesn't usually have a lot to back it up with. It's literally coming from the gut. That's intuition at play right there. And it's funny how some people can accept that, but they can't accept that, you know, you might be guided in some way, or you know, you might have some sort of extrasensory gift, let's put it that way, you know, something that's sitting outside the five senses that would allow you to be able to observe things differently about the world. You know, there are certain things for you that are they're as plain as the window behind me, right? So talking about the way that you can see into people, the way that you can read energies, the way that you can read group dynamics and things like that, right? As a Scorpio, those tend to be very, very strong skills that Scorpios are just born with innately, you know. And with a Pisces ascendant, that's even stronger. What was your moon? Aquarius moon. See, it's almost like your chart is fighting against itself, because with both Aquarius and Scorpio, these ideas of detachment are really, really strong. Now, that can work in your favour if it's coming from the right place, but too often it's as a result of trauma, you know. Aquarius means a pretty galactic, as it was put to me once, it's a pretty galactic placement. You're built to see things differently. You're built to, you know, feel things differently. Yes. Anyway, let's put these down and out of the way a little minute. Because what you've got next is the King of Cups and the Moon. Right? More indication, if any, were necessary, that the internal exploration for you is more important. King of Cups is Scorpio, obviously, and the Moon talks about that which we do not see. Right? Well, you know, that which you can probably see really easily in other people, but that you kind of resist in yourselves. You know, the Moon is the dark detective energy. It is the intuition, right? It's absolutely twinned with intuition, but there's a path here, you know, and it's exploring the different sides of you. We have the Emperor card. We have the Hermit card. What was the Knight of Cups that fell out? Oh, I'm not taking that. Got enough Knight of Cups on the table already to know what that's about. You've got this beautiful little trifecta of major arcana cards coming out underneath the King of Cups and the Moon card. We've got the Emperor, the Hermit card, and the Strength card. Right? I mean, a really flat way of reading that would be like taking control of your insides, like mastering your inner space so that you might grow. I mean, all of the answers that you could possibly need to anything are found within you, right? That's why the passage of the Moon, the path of the Moon is within. It's why the Hermit card is always, you know, appearing as solitary. It's all in here. You don't need to know anything outside of you. But do you have issues with your masculinity? the expression of your masculinity. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm actually astonished that there are operating, like men, being able to operate as men anywhere on the planet at the moment, because well, certainly in Western culture, we seem to be associating anything that is even remotely masculine and healthy masculine with toxicity. And I think that that's appalling, personally. I think it's a dreadful thing. Sometimes it's to do with our relationship with our father. I should bring that up too, just in case that's a thing. But it's Aries energy. It's about really getting stuck into and taking control of, achieving mastery over your internal space. You know, now if you have issues with your father, then that would be an avenue to explore. If you have issues feeling like you can express your masculinity appropriately, then that would be something that you would need to explore as well. And even just as I'm saying that, you know, think of the ramifications of useful work that you did in that direction for your own sons, right? They're providing a role model that is strong for them in a world that seems to be trying to eliminate men, and to a degree, I guess, eliminate women too. You know? And we've got the Strengths card. We've got incredible growth coming for you through that. It's personal development, personal expansion, right? Spiritual growth that we're talking about with that Strength card there. We've got the Queen of Pentacles and the Strength card coming out to clarify the Strength card again. You know, Strength is a card of Leo, but the Queen of Pentacles, she talks about the practical applications of things, but she also talks about the way in which you take care of yourself. And I wonder if you do even really properly take care of yourself at this point, right? The Queen of Pentacles, the message of the Queen of Pentacles is that, you know, we must nurture ourselves first. Everybody else comes second. You know, this Strength card, this second Strength card is very much concerned with healing. You know, I just want to show you that second. It's the reason I bought this deck, actually, was because I saw that and it reminded me of me and my dog. I've got a big, like, wolf dog thing, and rather than a lion, it had a wolf on it, and I was like, oh, I like that very much. But look at the Moon card. Like, the Moon always has these two beasts on it, right? One's a wolf and one's a dog, representing the wild side of us and the tame side of us, talking about the feminine side of us and the masculine side of us, right? Getting all of those into balance, into alignment first before we move out into the world, and healing that if necessary. You know, which one of is it your dog or your wolf that needs healing? Is it the wild side of you that is absolutely repressed and not allowed to come out, not allowed to express itself? Or is it the tame side? I mean, have you gone too far the other way? It's all about bringing it back and putting it straight, right? Maintaining control over these two things and making sure that you are looking after yourself in the process. You know, not just in the short term, but long term. We're talking about really good spiritual hygiene, right? Catching yourself on the fly, making sure that all of your reactions to things are genuine, straightforward reactions. Know that they are. But I think we come to a place when we are starting spiritual development, right, where we forget about the basics. So, you know, we're kind of pushing on and we're trying to get into the intense kind of energy where we feel like we're really shifting something, or, you know, working on something that affects mankind, and we kind of forget about the basic stuff. Right? And the basic stuff is the stuff that needs to be drilled over and over again. Are you eating properly? Are you taking care of your physical body? Because this is the vessel through which you get to do your great good. This is the vessel through which you do your great work. It is your great work in some ways, you know. Because you are living a 3D experience here. You know, you might be, you know, the universe literally experiencing itself right now. You may be, you know, a fragment of the Godhead, but you're still having a human experience. And if you don't have a working vessel, then your power is relatively limited, certainly on this plane at least, you know. Are you looking after your money properly? You know, I feel like the Queen of Pentacles is a bit of a bean counter. You know, it's taking care of the practical stuff, and that includes you, like all the practical aspects of every aspect of everything that you can invest. God, that was a murdered sentence. I really fucked that up, right? Everything that you can invest, is it operating fully? Is it operating to the best of its ability? Because the chances are that there's something that's kind of gone by the wayside. So do you have too much free time, or do you have not enough? Do you have too much time on your own, or do you have not enough? Like the being mindful of the balance at all times in every aspect of your life is what helps you keep time aside for the personal work, the personal exploration, but it keeps everything else ticking along too. You know, got the Queen of Cups at the bottom of the deck here with the Hermit. You know, this is all about exploring. Here it's about exploring the way that you receive emotion, right? So are you tactile? Can you deal with physical proximity, or are you a little bit standoffish? You know, what is your love language? How do you speak it? Do you know what it is? Right? It's all about self-exploration. Now, things start to take somewhat of an uptick when we get to the next set of cards, because here I was only asking for one card per position, but like right at the bottom here we were getting multiple cards out in the positions. So we had 2 here, but we've got 3 here, and we've got 3 for the end set of cards. But look at this. We've got those repeating themes here. Some monochrome cards are actually quite difficult to see. Let me hold them up one at a time so you can focus on what's going on. Right, the very first card that you have got is Justice there. The second one is the Strength card. The third one is the Emperor, right? We've got these same things going on here. This is for you to manage your growth, your expansion. You know, you cannot trust this to anybody else. It has to be your work. Not that I think that you would trust it to anyone else. Like, I mean, do you know what I mean? But the Justice card is about coming into alignment with where we are supposed to be going. Right? We're talking about life purpose kind of stuff here. And life purpose stuff, like I said, isn't always about, you know, becoming a spiritual guru and finding people who are going to come and, you know, come and stay at your retreat for a week at a time and leave all, you know, changed and healed and stuff. Sometimes our life purpose takes a different form. You know, and I feel like we have many over the course of our lives as well. You know, we don't set up with just one. You know, we get one for where we are right now, and we do that for a while. And when we've, you know, really suitably progressed through that, then we change and we evolve, and then we get presented with a new life purpose. But there's something very, very strong about this energy, not least because it is asking you to really, you know, really take a hold of yourself. And so emotionally and practically, these two things are very, very strong. But again, there is this expression of the masculine energy. We've even got 2 birds in the background here. One is black and one is white in the background of this Strength card. You know, although the main focus of the card is obviously the lion that is lying in the lap of the maiden, and which one of those is the true depiction of strength? Well, they're both, again, speaking to a wild and a tamed or taming version of strength. But we've got these 2 birds in the background, the black bird and the white bird. And what appears to be a tower in the background. That's really interesting. So there are the 2 birds that I keep looking at, blackbird and the white bird. Here's the little corner of the tower. It's just kind of sticking up in the background here. There's a lot here about duality. There's a lot about polarity. Right? finding the space to occupy in between the two extremes, right? You're supposed to have masculine and feminine energy, and you're supposed to have dark and shadowy energy and light energy too. You're supposed to keep bringing all of these things into you, and you straddle that line in between. So, I mean, there's almost certainly, a considerable amount of shadow work that goes on here for you, that is necessary for you. Not because you've got to catch up or anything, but because the shadow work is the work. It is what you have been sent here to do, because you're not just fixing it in you, you're fixing it in your line moving forwards forever, but you're also fixing it for the people around you. That is great spiritual work. Tell me about this justice card. I don't even want this deck. That's so fucking... It's just sliding out of my hands. Get a different one. Get the Llewellyn out. No, we're going with the with the Deviant Moon. That's interesting. Okay, so we have the Three of Pentacles, we have the Death card. What else do we have? We have the Five of Cups. We have the Six of Pentacles, right? This constant process of bringing balance to the grief. And there it is. There's the shadow card at the bottom of the deck. It is the Chariot, which is my card of shadow work, actually. But it's also a card that speaks in a way that almost none of the others do about the balancing of extremes. We have the Sphinxes usually at the front of the Chariot. The reason that it indicates shadow work to me is because you've got the light and the dark. You've got the shadow and the light. Night and day, good and bad. Whatever it is. These are indicated by the Sphinxes. The Sphinxes are pulling the Chariot, but you're going to have to keep those Sphinxes in a straight line. Right? They need to be pulling in exactly the same direction. One can't be veering off, otherwise the whole thing's going to go tumbling over. I always think it's a really badly designed Chariot anyway, because if you look at it, it's got ground clearance of like 1 centimetre. It just needs one little rock and the whole thing's going to go tits up maybe. But it's not the point. The charioteer is depicted as being in the chariot, and he doesn't have any reins, so how the fuck is he controlling these Sphinxes? He's controlling them with the power of his mind. It's about intent, it's about will, it's about determination, it's about achieving that perfect sense of balance. The charioteer is the point of integration between those two Sphinxes. He's the one who directs the direction of travel, right? It's all down to him. Here it is, in you. Oh, Page of Pentacles is seen. Page of Pentacles has been coming out for you a lot, hasn't it? There's this constant dance that you seem to need to be undertaking between your grief and evolution. Like toing and froing, calming up and there's this is a really strong indication here that there's been a number of times where you have tried to build, and what has been built inevitably ends, right? It comes kind of crashing down. We've got the Three of Pentacles, which is people working together, teamwork and collaboration, so your intimate relationships and your less intimate relationships, right? The sense of what it is that you have tried to build over the course of your life. And then we have the Death card. We have it blowing up. Now, interestingly, when you reduce 13 down, 1 plus 3, you get 4. Right? And 4 is the energy of building something. It's like this needs to be broken down over and over again. Things need to end so that the new can begin. Right? I love this death. Oh, I fucking love this death card here. Notice that Death is pregnant. What have we got going on in the background? There's a fucking chip going on back down there, right? That life is a constant cycle of losses and gains. And the way to navigate through it is to find that point in the middle where you can bounce along, right? And it's okay. Because happen what may, these are all just experiences and lessons that are giving you the skills that you need to move forwards and do what it is that you are here to do. Like I said, look at these 3 cards here. You've got death and the 5 of cups. There's that constant little Scorpio dance between, losing a thing, feeling the grief, feeling the pain, feeling all of that, and then transmuting it, right? Finding a way to level out what that is, rather than clamping down, rather than building walls between you and your emotional capacity, which I fear is often the way that Scorpios try and deal with this. They just wall off their emotional capacity. Finding a way to honour it, to use it, because it is your gift. And it's accept the pain. Like, sometimes you just have to accept the pain. You can't spend your entire life running away from it. I don't get the impression from your email that you are running away from it at all. Acceptance feels to me like it's a huge part of what you are experiencing now at the moment. There's a wonderful quote by Lawrence van der Post. I mean, it's something along the lines of, it's a testament to the human spirit that it can go down so low and then, soar to the equal amount. I've murdered it, he said it much nicer than that. But it's like a life lived in mediocrity, where people do not feel too much in the way of pain, means that they never feel too much in the way of joy either. We need the light for this to balance the shadow, right? We need the shadows to see how bright a light is. You cannot have one without the other. You cannot have joy without pain. You cannot have good without bad. You can't have positivity without negativity. The things are always constantly comparative. They're sitting at either ends of the spectrum. So where you find the place to sit in between, and more than that, direct the travel in between. By force of will, absolutely. But by force of self. The Chariot is a card of the self, in so much as it covers everything to do with the self. It's self-determination, it's autonomy, it's self-discipline, it's self-motivation sometimes too. It's about creating a plan, right? Creating a goal, a vision for where you want your life to go, and then putting everything that you have into it, right? Putting everything into keeping your sphinxes aligned so that your success is guaranteed, right? You can't fail if you apply yourself to something. Well, obviously, the thing that you're being asked to apply yourself is to you. We can get all philosophical about shit. And we can start debating whether I really exist. Right? You may think that you exist. But do you know that I exist? Well, maybe not. Maybe I'm just an expression of your subconscious, But I think that it's very easy to lose yourself in questions of that. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting what you said. You said you didn't know how to tap into it. Like, you're already tapping into it. You're already doing that because you've recognised that it's there, and you can't recognise that something's there without tapping into it. This spiritual development group that I was talking about before, I joined that for one reason and one reason only. That was because I had been reading tarot for myself for a little while, right? But I felt that there was something missing from my readings, and I wasn't sure what it was. And I thought that this this course that was 10 weeks long, like 10 sessions. Only one of those sessions was on tarot. And I was like, I'm going to sign up for the entire course because of this one class, right? It'll teach me what I need to know. And what I wasn't sure of was whether I wasn't tapping into my intuition properly. And that did feel like a thing for me. Like I was like, it's here and I cannot access it. I know I can do better than this and I don't know why I can't. Or whether I was tapping into it just fine, but it was too quiet. I had to find a way to kind of turn it up, you know? And it was about confidence. It was the confidence to do where other people didn't. Actually, the biggest thing for me was talking aloud, actually, because I'd always just read the cards and looked at it and it was just kind of swirling imagery around me everywhere. But my intuition comes from here almost when I'm reading cards, right? I have to speak it. I have to speak aloud. And I didn't discover that until that one class out of 10. Intuition's there. I'm tapping into it just fine. I wasn't expressing it in the right way though. So it wasn't out there in the world and it wasn't doing what it was supposed to do, because I would sit there and read my cards in silence and then look up meanings in books and be like, what does it mean? What does it mean? I had to just open my mouth and allow these things to come out. And in that one class we had to read tarot cards for each other, and I was sat there with one card and I was just talking for like 15 minutes about a thing, and the woman on the other side of the table was in floods of tears and she was like, that's exactly, and I'm like, wow, where the fuck, right? It was there. I was tapping into it just fine. I wasn't letting it out again in the right way. Now, I mention this to you because I feel like wherever there is that feeling that we're not tapping into it properly, it's because we're blocking it somehow. Not because, don't deserve it or anything like that. I mean, like, it needs an outlet. You are a channel at that point. If you've got any kind of spiritual gift, you are a channel. And you need to find a way to express it. So, at this point, you're expressing things through art. And it's one way of expressing things. But there may be other ways that you have not explored because this is the way that you do it. We're talking about opening up your mind and opening up your perspective, opening up your perceptions, really, and not prejudging anything, right? Let it kind of come the way that it will. There's that Knight of Cups again. I mean, like, it's coming out over and over again. It's about opening up your heart. You have to allow your heart to open up when you are doing, whatever because if you try and use your mind, if you try and think your way through this rather than just doing it, this is where you get into trouble, right? This is where the Eight of Swords starts to kick in, because it's using a different sense, and it's one that actually can't be very well processed through the brain, like, because your brain is it's basically just a decoding machine for 3D information. It doesn't help if the information that you're getting is not 3D. But the Eight of Swords here is saying, like, you're trapping yourself here. You're trapping yourself with your expectations, but you're trapping yourself with this idea that you can't tap into it. Ten of Pentacles again. Like, not only can you tap into it, but this is a solid energy, right? This is something that something that can put food on your table. Is the honest truth about this. If you get through, if you allow the Knight of Cups to do its job, as a Pisces ascendant, like, the ascendant sign is how the rest of the world sees you. But it's also the first bit of you that interacts with the rest of the world, right? And as Pisces, I always feel like as deep down as Pisces, as Scorpio goes, like Pisces goes up above. It's a very powerful energy. You've got what you need to turn your gift into something that not only can put food on your table, that like, fuck me, right? You need to start a business. That's what we're talking about here, right? You need to start a business, but first you need to know what the best way to express your gift is. And that is, yeah. I mean, the magician's here. You have everything that you need. You have all the tools that you need. You just need to work out how to express them, right? It's a card of manifestation, the magician card. But you've just got to climb those stairs. You know, the Nine of Wands here is about being resilient. It's about sticking with stuff. It's also a card of boundaries sometimes, and it could be that the Pisces and the Scorpio energy that is at play at you at all times, I guess, is kind of in conflict with itself a little bit, your birth chart, is because Pisces wants to spread around. It wants to be part of everything. It wants to be the glue that holds everything together, right? But Scorpio is very self-contained sometimes, and it builds up those walls. With Pisces, you have a loss of self to the collective. With Scorpio, it's almost like I can't allow myself to be part of the collective, because if I open up, then all of this pain rushes in. But your job as a Scorpio is to alchemize that. And not only alchemize that, like show others how to do it too. Wonder if you're interested in shamanism. Are you interested in shamanism? Because it's all got to be practical with you. It's actually got to have a practical outlet. It needs to be a business of some sort, is what I'm saying here. Like, this needs to be what you devote your life to. It's what you commit to. It's not only dancing between, you know, your pain and the beauty, but showing others how to do the same. And part of that, you know, for some people, part of that is going in there with them, which is very shamanic, and experiencing it with them and leading them out again, you know. But you've got to work out where your boundaries are, right? Are they in the right place? Do you not have any? Do you need some more? We've got the Page of Swords at the bottom of the deck, which speaks to, you know, mental expansion, changing the way that you see the world, right? Taking your vision of the world and expanding upon it. And like I said, sometimes it's the card of the student along with the Page of Pentacles. And we could say, oh, you need to go and find a teacher, except that what we've got underneath it here, fuck me, look at this. 10 of Swords, 9 of Swords, and the 3 of Swords. Like, you've got all of the learning information that you need, right? It's all underneath here. It's all part of your past experience. It's about making sure that you get it into the right place in your head, so that when it's in the right place in your head, you can share it with other people, which is nothing more than what I do on a day-to-day basis. This is all I do. It's all I do on the channel. It's like, oh, here's all the ways that I have experienced suffering, which is pretty much every way known to man. Like, if there's a pretty shitty thing that's happened to a human being, I think I've experienced it at some point. 99% of it, you know, I was never trafficked, but that's about the extent of what I haven't experienced. And then I share with people how I reframed it, how I saw it for the higher spiritual lesson that I consider it to have been. You know, this is how I can look back on my past and go, it was a gift, every single bit of it. You know, I chose to be born to my mother, I chose to be born to my father. You know, I chose to meet this person, I chose to stay in those dire situations, you know. My children chose to be born to me, and my daughter chose not to stay very long because she didn't need to. You know, these kind of things, like, once you are at the level that you are at now, nothing happened. Coincidence isn't a thing, right? Welcome to the world of the spiritual. Coincidence isn't a thing. Bad luck isn't a thing. right? Everything is exactly as it is supposed to be. And it's for you to decide what you do with that moving forwards. So if you have had lessons that have given you pain, that's a brilliant place to start. Like, mind that. Really understand that about yourself. Because you've got the Judgment card next. And I love this for you. I love it, not least because of that fucking phoenix right at the top there. You know, we've got a sense of resurrection here. Right? Resurrection, rebirth, like all of these themes are coming here for you. But the Judgment card speaks about a number of really important things, right? The Judgment card is about your own judgment. What is your judgment on any given situation, right? And where is it pliable? Where, with new information, would it change? It's a card of making big life decisions for yourself, right? And that's important. But again, are these your decisions that you're making, or are they reflecting society around you? Are they reflecting the expectations of people around you, right? So I was going off on a whole different tangent in my head there, like we'll save that for another time, right? How much of it is what you, Scott, want? And how much of it is conditioning from society, from friends, from family, from all that sort of thing, right? Do you know what you want? And where you're feeling trapped, where you're feeling stuck, where you're feeling unsure, how much of it is this? Love this card so much. Look at this creeping devil here. I think he's wonderful, you know? Because it's about facing down the devil in every single avenue of your life, every single aspect of your life. And making sure that the decisions that you are making are not as a result of the devil, but making sure that they're as a result of what you as a pure spirit actually want moving forwards. You know, it's listening to your higher self. It's paying attention to those nudges and notes and messages from home, you know, that are trying to steer you in the right way. Ultimately to be of service. Because that's all this is. It's about being of service. It's about alchemizing the pain that you have experienced, alchemizing, you know, the difficulties that you have had, and then finding a way to help other people with that. Like, I think the art is stunning. I love it. I particularly love that bee picture. It's absolutely fucking phenomenal. It's got such depth to it, you know, if you're open to seeing it. It's got such depth to it. But it's not all that is meant for you. There is more. I'm absolutely certain there is more. Because we've got this Six of Wands, and we've got this Father of Pentacles, King of Pentacles here, right? The King of Pentacles has come up for you a number of times. And I'm wondering if part of... There's so much here around responsibility and duty and money and provision for other people. And I'm wondering if you're concerned about being able to provide for people if you perhaps... You see, it's a funny thing here, right? I've been sitting here this whole time. Let me have a look at your email. And I've been very much working on the assumption that you are going to be giving up your job. It's just funny because this is not what you say here. This is not what you say here. You say, I've been in corporate IT, internet technology, multi-dimensional reporting for the last 12 years. Okay. My husband is also in, ex-husband was also in corporate IT. She works for Amazon now. You say nothing here about this. But I know I have a spiritual gift of some kind that it mirrors. I can only call it seeing connections or synchronicity, but I don't know how to tap into it for real. I feel like I'm missing a mentor. Maybe it's like I'm the only one awake around me, or is that everyone else is, but they don't admit it. we're so damn connected everywhere, but that's okay, it's manifesting, right? Nowhere here do you say anything about giving up your corporate IT job, but I am working very much on the assumption that you are. And I don't tend to make mistakes in comprehension. So I don't know if I'm kind of reading between the lines here a little bit, which seems unlikely, or whether it is that you are thinking about making a shift and making a move. Because if you are, Six of Wands, King of Pentacles, like not only will you succeed, you will thrive doing this. You know, you may not make the same amount of money that you were making in corporate IT initially, but that doesn't mean that there isn't some to come. And more than that, there's a different kind of lifestyle here for you if you chose to do that. You know, the Judgment card is kind of coming to the nub of the matter, and it's saying, like, you have some big decisions to make moving forward, Scott. Like, what do you want to do? Like, if you've got any kind of attachment to this corporate job, it's time to start analysing those and working out why it is that you're holding them. There's no reason why you can't be spiritual and successful and financially successful at the same time. Eight of Pentacles, Seven of Wands. Nine of Wands, Three of Cups. Yeah, I mean, if you're not thinking about it, I really do think that you should be thinking about it. And I think if you are thinking about it and you are worried about it, I think that's where the creeping devil is for you. Now, let's get down to, you know, really pull this down to the essential matter here, which is that I do feel like a career change is in sight for you. If you don't know what it is that you are supposed to be doing, I would suggest that you do everything. You do everything that you can get your hands on. Not to be taught how to do things, but to recognize that which it is that you are good at, you know. I've done all sorts of things. I tried flower divining. That was really interesting. It's not necromancy, was it? It's something mancy. It's essentially where you take an object and you hold it, right? And then you start talking about the person that it belonged to. Now, I was all right at this. I was pretty good at it, actually. But there were other women in that group who were insane, and they could start giving you fucking dates and all sorts of things. It was absolutely bonkers. I was all right at it, but nothing like that level. Would I consider doing it for work? No. Like, might I do it in addition to something else? You know, if I was doing a tarot reading for someone who was right in front of me and they were like, oh, I've got this, you know, I would hold that while I was doing things, and I would let my fucking thing, you know, talk, but I wouldn't structure a business around it. What else have I done? All sorts of things, can't even remember. But it was about looking for the things that resonated with me. Because where there's interest, there's usually ability. It's just how it happens, you know. I mean, like this Eight of Pentacles. King of Cups, straight off the bat. And there it is. King of Cups. King of Cups. Oh. We've got the Hanged Man and we've got the Ace of Swords there. You know, we've got is the Hanged Man was in reverse. You know, they all kind of come together to give an energy of the Magician about this, right? You know everything that you need to. You just need to find the outlet. You need to find the modality that allows your higher wisdom to start coming out, right? To allow this gift out. You know, what you're really good at is perspective. Right? You can see the connections between things. You can see the synchronicities, which means I think that you've got a kind of perspective that is slightly sideways of everybody else's. And you can see how all these things fit together. And when you explain that to people in a way that they can understand, when you can help people make sense of their grief, make sense of their conflict, that shit changes lives right there. You've just got to hit on the right creative way to do it. And I think, fuck, if you cannot change your life at 45, right? If at 45 you do not feel like you can throw the chips up in the air and go, well, fuck it, let's see what happens, then I think you're too chained to what it is that you've been doing. And the card that came out there was the World card and the Four of Cups. I love this Four of Cups because unlike all of the other versions of the Four of Cups that I've got there, this woman, just put that card up really close so you can see it there. She's smiling to herself, right? She's got a little secret. She's just giving herself a minute to think about that, you know, allow herself that little bubble of joy there. That for you is your spiritual gift. Like, it's ready to start speaking. It's ready to start being expressed in some way. But it's an end to you keeping it to yourself. It's got to go out. So if you want my advice as to how it is that you should move forward, right? It's about start living this 100% in everything that you do. It's start living it. Start noticing the ways in which you are already doing this, the ways that you are imparting knowledge to other people. Because often we spiritual types, we teach without knowing that we're doing it. You know, we don't have to sit in a classroom. We don't have to go, right, you need to do X, Y, and Z. You know, we just talk to people. We offer our perspective on things. People come to you naturally. I'm going to pull you out the spiral oracle card and see what it has to say. Yeah, that's 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's cut the deck. We're going to cut it here. Let's see what we've got. We have Infinity. It's a beautiful card. I'm going to read you what it says. It's getting that third eye wide open. Right. Infinity. Once upon a time, a samurai warrior came to a Zen master and asked him to explain the difference between heaven and hell. When the Zen master looked at him, he said, "I will never teach anything to someone as ignorant and violent as you." The samurai was immediately consumed by rage. He drew his sword and prepared to finalize him. Then the master said, "That is hell." Instantly the samurai understood, and humbled by wisdom, he put away his sword and bowed in gratitude before the Zen master. The master said, "That is heaven." My emotions and my mind dominated me. It caused great confusion, expectations, and projections. They brought an illusory veil that kept reality out of sight. Suffering stops when I acknowledge the ignorance of my own universe. I open up my vision and I leave room inside me for what I didn't want to see. Truth. The mind and the body are part of the same being and affect each other. When I pay attention to my emotions and thoughts, I regain sovereignty of my being. I breathe, I observe, and the pace of life slows down. I can now see all things clearly. I feel like that's pretty spot on. Have a look at the card there. No. I like that a lot. So, spend the next few months working out all of those things that we have spoken about. Right? Don't expect that to be the end of the matter, but there is a place to start. And also, spend the time observing where you are already doing what it is that you are supposed to do. Right? Because the magician has come out for you so many times. Right? Your superpowers lie in what has been hard behind you. You know, your greatest your greatest gift has been that which you considered to be a curse for all of this time. You know, oh, look at that! I've got the crow oracle deck here too. no one knows you better than you, and you could still know yourself better still. It's true for all of us, really. But the first step in really coming to the light is doing that work within first. Card for Scot, please. Fucking hell. Don't want to come out. Card for Scot. Oh, there it is. The cards are communication and insight, and the one at the bottom is resistance. You've got your insight, which is internal, and then you've got the way that you communicate it outwardly. The problem is the resistance between the two. The problem is accepting that you can do a thing, right? It's like, it's that feeling of perfectionism. Like, until I've got to the point where I can like literally channel Buddha, then I'm not good enough to put myself out there and do a thing. Well, you're doing it already. You have been doing it for a while. This is what this is saying to me. That communication bit that I was talking about there, right? That's, you've got to find your way to communicate it. And that's all you need. That's all you need. So find the modality that speaks to you the most, right? And then do that. It's a cool little bird noise there. Going to take that as confirmation for what I just said. So I hope that this helps. I feel like I've been kind of rambling for fucking days here, but hopefully this all makes sense to you. So if you want to shoot me an email or whatever afterwards, that's absolutely fine. If you don't want to, that is also absolutely fine. But it's been really cool to connect with you, and thank you for sending me those photographs. Like, it made me smile. All right. Take care.